Sir, just I am some streaming. I am doing some.
Yeah, please do, sir. Please do.
Okay. Sir, some technical problem. We will start. Then I will do the recording streaming. Now it is all. So let us start with a short silence meditation. Good evening to each and everyone who are present here to Indian section Zoom online program.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining here. So we'll start with the universal invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as a one with thee know he is also one with every other. Welcome back. Thank you. With us, Dr. Sankar Bhagavad-pada. Dr. Sankar is a recipient of master's degree in physics from IIT Madras in the year 1971 and doctoral degree from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in the year 1980. In fact, his spiritual journey began with the help of his mother, Srimati Kanak Durga Ramchandran, who initiated him into the deep and dangerous waters of the teachings of J. Krishnamurti. He learned J.K.'s teachings, assimilated practically the teachings, core teachings, who is known in theosophical world, the world teachers. His lifetime work and yield to the natural dying of the self, which led him to Sthita Pragya, state of Atma Pragyananta. In the year 1982, he joined KFI, appointed for a few months as a principal of KFI school. He established, with the help of a friend and philosopher, to serve as a seedbed for spiritual mission. In the year 2011, he started teaching Hindu self-realization with J. Krishnamurti's inward flowering through self-knowing. In 2016, his book Self-Realization Through Self-Knowing was a great success. He established AMANASKA Yoga as a 1 year long online course, and many persons join in that AMANASKA Yoga online course. He was joined as a led to, and he led to a panel of discussion in the world religion with a subject like for inter-religions harmony and world peace. Self-knowing is Shine Corner. He addressed a very distinguished gathering in the 148th Theosophical Society International Conference. His teachings and organization is AMANASKA Yoga Foundation. He has a very long introduction, and sir has given me permission to make it short as far as possible. So with this short introduction, I invite Dr. Sankara to speak very beautiful subject on the Krishnamurti world teacher, the divine architect world teacher, J. Krishnamurti. Welcome, sir.
Namaste, sir. Namaste and my salutations to all the office bearers of the Indian section of the Theosophical Society in Varanasi. Secondly, I am beholden to Pradeep ji Mahapatra, who has invited me in his capacity as secretary of the online programs of the Indian section of the Theosophical Society, and a salutation also to all the other listeners who may or may not belong to the Theosophical Society's fold. Now, this is going to be, this is a difficult assignment that has been given to me, and I have to complete the whole thing in a span of 45 minutes. So I ask for your patience, and I ask for your resonance with me as I take you on a fast train journey through something like 16 slides, and I will take questions at the end of it. So permit me now to do the screen sharing, and yeah, this is where we are. So I need to minimize, yes. So I hope the screen is visible. I'll go to the, yeah, this is the, so this is the title slide. You can see that I have put on the right side a historical picture going back to the early Theosophical days. 1909, in the month of February, C.W. Leadbeater arrived in Adyar, and Krishnamurti was discovered in the month of May 1909, and Krishnamurti was initiated in 1909, December 31st, and then again on January 11th, 1911, I think 1910. And on the left side, you see the world teacher in his years of maturity, maybe some 7 or 8 or 10 years before he shuffled off his bottle coils. And it's a very long tenure, 75 years of teaching, traveling all over the world. And I just wanted to more or less start with the beginning, and then give you a glimpse of Krishnamurti in his in the last decade of his life. Now I'm going to, so this is just contents. The contents are in the form of 20 points, but I don't want to take you through all those points because that will take time. And so I will jump straight away with the initial concept. And what is that? So I've spoken about the divine architecture of the world teacher, Sri J. Krishnamurti. And so I'm using a metaphor, divine architecture. And where did I get this from? I got this by looking at life. And I see that just as an architect architectures and designs a house, a building, human beings using their divine power in the form of thought and feeling are consciously and unconsciously architecturing their life, their children, the destinies of their children, and also their work. So on the right side, you see a building and you see the blueprint. And that is just a reminder for us that everything that we see, including the whole of nature, that is the handiwork of the divine. And we are using that idea of divine architecture because the moment we start thinking, the moment we start feeling deeply about something, we have set the ball of design and creation and architecture rolling. So first I want to begin with an old sutra from Mahari Parashara's Brihat Parashara Horashastra, which is the darshana I'm using. In Hindu India, you have 6 renowned darshanas. They are called the classical darshanas. I'm not going to go into them, but there are also later darshanas which have come into Hindu philosophy and into the Hindu religious outlook. I maintain that the 7th darshana is Tantra Shastra, and I want to suggest that the 8th darshana is Jyotirvidya. That is, you can look at the world the way an astrologer does, and the astrologer has a certain worldview, and that worldview, darshana, we are going to use in understanding and fathoming the mystery of the incarnation of the world teacher. Now, look at the words of Mahari Parashara. He is saying that every time somebody is born, then there is a Paramatma Amsha in that incarnation, and there is a Jivatma Amsha. Jivatma Amsha means very human, with human foibles, with human errors, and with the birth of suffering and so on. And Paramatma Amsha is unpolluted, the divine ingredient, completely Vimala, stainless, unpolluted in its full-blown infinite nature. So according to Parashara, there are both the coexistence of the Jivatma Amsha and the Paramatma Amsha, and the Paramatma Amsha is resplendent in the Navagraha Devata called the Sun, in the Navagraha Devata called Jupiter, and in 2 other astrological variables where the Rudra aspect of Shiva is entering into the picture, namely the lords of the 8th house and the 12th house, who are well known to astrologers as Moksha Karakas. And then these lords, the Sun, Jupiter, and Rudra, they also have their powers, and their powers are called Shakti, and even their powers, they have a predominance of Paramatma Amsha. Then the disciple Maitreya, and this Maitreya is not to with Lord Maitreya, which the Theosophists were concerned with. And here, Maitreya asks Mahari Parashara, which are the incarnations which are 100% Paramatma Amsha? Then Parashara replies that the 4 incarnations of Rama, Krishna, Narasimha, and Varaha are wholly endowed with Paramatma Amsha, whereas the other incarnations have also the Jivatma Amsha. And I'm using the word Sanskrit word Amsha, and that means portion or a certain part. So now I move to the next thing, and I move to the next thing. So the Jyotish chart is likened to a seed. From the seed comes the tree. And from a coconut seed comes the coconut tree, with again coconuts there. And from the mango seed comes mangoes. So astrologers are all the time studying these seeds. These seeds are the Vedic charts, the horoscopes. They study that because they are kind of encapsulated biographies of the individuals who are coming into incarnation. And in the Hindu view, and in the view of the Bhagavata Purana, there are 8 billion incarnations. Every time a human being is born, in fact, it is the divine who is actually incarnating and wearing the mask of a human being. And so that is the developing worldview for us. And basically in Jyotish, Vedic astrology, we have this kind of a Samudra Manthan Puranic model of the world taken from Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is converted into mathematical variables, and the planets don't actually rule us. The Navagraha Devatas, which are Amshas of Adi Parashakti, they only are represented in any Vedic chart and in any Rasi chart. Planets don't actually rule us. That's a misunderstanding. And the whole of Jyotirvidya is totally divine-centric. And this is the model underlying Jyotirvidya or Jyotir Darshana. Now, I've got to put before you in the very beginning all the enigmas which are staring us in the face. First of all, we have got to account for the Lord Maitreya phenomena, then mystical divine experiences of Krishnaji in the night, then exalted status and extraordinary intelligence and seriousness of Krishnaji and his paradigm of inward flowering through self-knowing. Then there is a peculiar process which is very beautifully described in Mary Luton's two of her works, The Years of Awakening and The Years of Fulfillment. And we have got to account for that. Then we have got to account for the leonine courage, extraordinary courage. Then 1,000,000% unselfish and generous to a fault. And then the enigma and the unsolved mystery is the vacant mind of Krishnamurti. And Krishnaji said in a discussion with Mary Lutyens and Mary Zimbalist and with one other person, Krishnaji said, water cannot know what water is. I want you to remember these words. This should be a takeaway from this talk. Water cannot know what water is. So Krishnaji is referring to himself as water. Now, water is the Paramapadam. It is the timeless eternity referred to in all the scriptures. And he said he cannot know who he is, and other people, Krishnamurti, who Krishnamurti is and what he is. And then if it is, may be able to ratify it, but he's just not capable of doing the decent, except an infinite emptiness and a vacant mind. So you need thought in order to do this work, and there is no thought available to Krishnamurti. Therefore, it's the peculiar situation in which he is unable to know himself, notwithstanding the fact that he is the world teacher. Then there is a psychic phenomenon that he gets separated. Account for that. Then there is the otherness, an aspect of divinity that Krishnamurti is encountering every time and during his solitary walks. Then we have got to account for extreme sensitivity to all beautiful things, to cars, to Mother Nature especially. Then stupendous archives of the teachings. Then we have got to account for sense of self being extinguished by the cosmic life energy called Ketu. Then the self-doubt which Ketu creates, which astrologers are so energy, where Ketu creates an affliction, Ketu will create that self-doubt. So the person, his knowingness will be disrupted, so that his knowingness loses self-confidence and it becomes nebulous. So all of that we've got to fathom. And then the climax of the whole divine architecture is water can never know what water is. These are Krishnaji's words. And so that's the ground we've got to cover. Is really too much of ground, and like to begin in a small way. On the right side, you have the North Indian chart. On the left side, you have the South Indian chart. And it's the Capricorn ascendant, Makara Lagna. and in the 12th house. And there is a yoga between the moon and Venus. And Venus rules the 5th house and the 10th house. The 10th house is the work of the world teacher. And the 5th, there is an affinity between the moon, which is the feeling nature of Krishnaji, and Venus, which is ruling all the significations of the 5th house of learning and teaching, and all in demonstrating to the world in the process of bringing in a new paradigm in the religious sphere. There is evidence that there is skill, honor, and achievement, which are significations of the 10th house. Now, significantly, the ascendant Lord Saturn, which is also the Lord of the 2nd house of status and family cohesion, that is exalted in the 10th house. And that is an extremely significant thing, because whenever you have an exalted planet, then astrologers know Amsha has settled there. And that's a sutra which. But what is peculiar about this Saturn is it's not only exalted in the 10th house, but it is also retrograde. That is, it is moving backwards at the time of Krishnaji's birth, and that is signified by a line under Saturn. That means it's retrograde. And most important is the sun is also exalted, very close to the most effective point, which is 26 degrees 29 minutes. And the sun is at 28 degrees 24 minutes. And the sun is exalted. And the sun, astrologers know, it is the Paramatma Kaka. It is the personification of the divine, the transcendental, which Vedanta refers to as Parabrahma, and Puranas refer to as Paramatma. Now, the peculiar thing in the divine architecture of Krishnaji's chart is every individual, you and me included, there is one cosmic life energy which is practically like a king. It is called Chara Atmakaraka. Chara means customized. And so that Navagraha Devata, longest longitude among all the Navagraha Devatas in the chart, and the candidacy for Chara being the Chara, it has got the longest longitude. No other Navagraha Devata has got such a long longitude. So the sun, very coincidentally and very remarkably, is simultaneously the of the Paramatma, and it is also the Atmakaraka of the individual human being called Jake. So there is a coincidence, which means, and the 4th house, this is the fourth house, 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house, 4th house. Now the 4th house is the seat, how we feel within ourselves, and astrologers call that Atmasthana. Atmasthana, that is your sense of self, self-identity, the thing which is always imperishable and which is living and which is responding to various situations. Either it likes something or it does not like something. So that is the house of the Atma, the 4th house, and there the Para and the Chara Atmakaraka both have become coincident and they are exalted. And not only that, and that is a huge thing in itself, and the exaltation and the placement of the Paramatma Karaka and the Chara Atmakaraka are close to the most effective point of the 4th house, which is about 26.5 degrees. So just 2 degrees. So which means the sun makes a very, very profound impact. Now it has got some destruction in the chart, and the chart itself, if we have to get a deeper understanding of it, it is the mood of the divine at the time and place of birth, mood of the Paramatma and Parabrahma at an individual human being is descending on planet Earth at that time. What is the mood of the divine? And the mood of the divine is invariably a combination or of a divine patronage along with the divine conspiracy. The divine patronage will give blessings and make life a joyous thing, whereas the divine conspiracy will create suffering. So both coexist. That's the very nature of life, because life is dualistic. And in that mood of the divine place of birth, something tremendously profound and very, very rare has happened at the time Krishnamurti was born, namely that the individual J. Krishnamurti, his Atmakaraka in the fourth house of the Atmasthana, and it is exalted, giving complete Paramatma Amsha, or yes, Paramatma Amsha, as Mahari Parashara has said, and it is close. Two remarkable placement, and that is crucial to understanding who Krishnamurti is and what is the Krishnamurti phenomenon. Now, here is Ketu, and Ketu is influencing the sun very, very closely. Is karmic accomplishment brought forward from past lives. So Ketu obviously is the whole bundle of past lives which Bishop Charles W. Leadbeater fathomed ability, and he, which is reincarnating over 32 or 40 lives. He called that a star in a certain constellation. But with the sun, especially when the sun is exalted, according to astrologers, it shows mastery of a certain area of life. And that's crucial to understanding who Krishnamurti is by divine architecture. Not by divine architecture, therefore, it is not that man, not at all. He will do his kartavya, whatever he has to do, but there is a seed of the divine at the time and place of birth, which is crucial to the destiny and identity of Krishnamurti. And now Jupiter rules the third house and the 12th house. This is the 12th. And Jupiter is placed in the 6th house, and it exercises its influence on the ascendant Lord Saturn. And because it rules the 12th house, it has a separative influence. And the self of J. Krishnamurti is resident in Saturn, because Saturn signifies the body, Saturn signifies the personality, and the whole the work of the Jupiter is not only to bless that Saturn, because Jupiter is the foremost planet of divine grace in Jyotish. Everybody knows that, and it represents the ether element, but it will also have a separative influence so that the personality and the self-identity is stripped off that individual called J. Krishnamurti. So the whole divine architecture that the Paramatma Kaka is in the 4th house of Atmasthana, very close to the MEP, and it's exalted by Ketu, which means the whole bundle of past lives have come there. And Jupiter, the separative planet, the self-identity of Krishnaji. So that is the thing, the mystery. Go more deeply. Now, you see, Saturn means all the energy of that Saturn is curled in. So people with retrograde planets are very deep thinkers, but they have a handicap in that they will not be able to manifest that inner thinking in the actually activate that's through their own sankalpa or through their intention. And Krishnamurti activated it on August 27, and then further in 1929, he dissolved the order of the star in the east. Till then, Krishnamurti was just watching everything, even after the whole process, when the third eye was opened for him. Even he was not hasty, he was not impulsive, he was not quick and impulsive to act, but he was watching everything. But in August 2027 and 29, through intention, the retrograde Saturn began to become direct because of the intention of Krishnamurti. And thereafter, Krishnamurti was a very, very different individual. He took upon himself the role of the world teacher, and he knew no fear, and he announced to the world that there is no separation between him and the beloved being a Lord Maitreya. And he didn't bother what name you gave to the beloved, but he knew that as it happened for the Master Jesus, as it Buddha, he had become one with his beloved. And that is a very crucial thing. And there is abundant testimony for that in the biographical works of Mary Lutens. So, great nature of Saturn was a handicap. In the early days, Krishnamurti himself says that in school, he was considered to be a moron, very dull-witted, and not able to do any smart things in school because of the retrograde Saturn, but later on it got activated. Now, these are the blessings that Krishnaji gets because of Jupiter's energy coming directly onto that ascendant Lord Saturn, which represents the body of Krishnamurti, the personality of Krishnamurti, and the self of Krishnamurti. So what are these Jupiterian blessings, which are already there in the mood of the divine at the time and place of birth? So that becomes part and parcel of the destiny. It becomes a long drawn-out pattern throughout the whole life. So the significations of Jupiter are goodness, sincerity, and for those who have watched the world teacher at very close quarters, they can definitely vouch and testify that these are the significations of the world teacher himself: goodness, sincerity, then intelligence, extraordinary intelligence, generosity, love of nature, inclination to learn and to teach, wisdom, expansive nature, ethical inclinations, compassion. So the whole bundle of those Jupiterian significations, they descend on Krishnaji's ascendant Lord and second Lord Saturn, and Sankara, already exalted and already very powerful Saturn, it's got a humongous Vimsha 16 points, so that Krishnamurti has the necessary seriousness and the necessary detachment, which definitely any world teacher has to have. Now, Jupiter also acts as a separative planet and as Lord of the third house. Separative because it is Lord of the 12th house. Then the self is stripped of that self, and that gives moksha or freedom, about which he's talking and he's writing. Then it gives an abundance of walking, solitary walks, where Krishnaji then grace through one younger sibling, Nitya, and a colleague, D. Rajgopal, who was the editor of all his books. Then because that Jupiter rules the house of unconsciousness, the 12th house, because of the influence of Jupiter on Saturn, very often because of the process, and when he's going in a car to the airport, suddenly Krishnamurti becomes unconscious. And that's because of this persistent impact of Jupiter on Saturn. And then the capacity to heal. And so this is because prana flows out from the third house through the hands. So it's called laying on of hands. And I have seen Krishnaji once do the healing of a retinal detachment at Parsi quarters at Adyar, the international headquarters. And Pradeep ji was telling me just before this event started, he saw Krishnaji healing Rohit Mehta many decades earlier, of course. And people who know Krishnaji very well, they know that Krishnaji had the healing ability. Then during the process in the Sun-Jupiter subperiod and the Sun-Saturn subperiod is because of Jupiter, because it rules the 12th house of sleep and unconsciousness. And therefore, that gets mixed up with the consciousness of Krishnamurti. And generosity, because of Jupiter being Lord of the 12th house. Then any number of losses and calamities and separation from the mother. Mother died prematurely, and a younger brother died prematurely. Then lost Castle Eerde in Holland, separated from his discoverer and mentor, Charles W. Leadbeater, got separated from the Theosophical Society, got separated, and he dissolved the Order of the Star in the East, all because of Jupiter's influence as a separative planet on Saturn, the ascendant lord and lord of the 12th house of losses and expenditures and separation. Now, the process culminated in the awakening of the third eye, beautifully described in Mary Lutyens's actually 3 volumes of biography, but the first 2 volumes are good enough, where all of this is put on the table before us. And his interest in golf and the recreational activities are also given by Jupiter as Lord of the 12th house. So now we go on. Now this is the Navamsha chart. I selected a Navamsha, Leo Ascendant Navamsha, very significant reasons. I'm not going to go into it because it's going to it's going to snatch away time, and we have got more important things to deal with. Now, this is the peculiar thing about Krishnaji. You see, this is the divisional chart of the 4th house. The divisional chart is like an inner chamber of the 4th house. The 4th house is up. Of the 4th house is like the sanctum sanctorum of the 4th house. So it is where the divine is life in the D4 chart, in the D16 chart, and so on. And here you can see that the Paramatma Kaka has got a Ketuvian separative influence. And also in the D4 chart, you can see that Saturn, the ascendant lord, and Sun, which is doubly the Atma Karaka, they are again under the separative influence of Jupiter, again under the separative influence of Ketu, which means the problem of not having a self and the difficulties that arise because of that, the difficulty of not having a self, suddenly the self going missing. And sometimes the body shouts, Krishna, come back. So people who have known Krishnaji and have been with him during the process, and on other occasions, they know that Krishnaji becomes unconscious and the self goes missing. And that's because in the Rasi chart, the self is separated because of the separative influence of Jupiter. And the same thing is doubly fortified in the Chaturtamsha, which is the divisional chart of the 4th house. And therefore, we have the problem of a world teacher for whom the self is absent. And the self being absent is the bedrock of the whole teachings, because he's talking about self-knowing and he's talking about a life without the self, but which may be very abstract for the rest of humanity, people like us. But for real, because every now and then it goes missing because of Rasi chart and separation from the self in the Turyamsha divisional chart. Most important slide probably. There are 2 important slides which are most important for the whole presentation, divine architecture of the world teacher. This is one. Now, because the Paramatma Karaka and which is also simultaneously the Chara Atma Karaka is the Sun, which is the Paramatma, which is primordial awareness, as Maharaj describes. That has occupied the 4th house, is what the awareness has occupied. And it is occupied perpetually and not to go away from there. It went away from Krishnaji's life maybe 1 week before he shuffled off his mortal coils. Krishnaji makes a very disturbing statement. He said it has gone. So it was a very great thing which was there, and it was it took residence in the Atmasthana of the individual called Krishnamurti, and it was the greatest of the great things. Namely, it was Parabrahma, it was that thing, and the pink area is what is, and little bit that is the embers of consciousness which is left, because he has to, somebody is calling him for a radio interview, he has to think about that. Somebody is has to book tickets for him for the London to Bombay flight. Little bit of thought is necessary, and all that thought which is burnt out. Process, he uses the same adjective, it's being burnt. And so that is given away to Lord Maitreya, and Lord Maitreya occupies it. He is nothing but the primordial awareness. And later in Krishnaji points out that Maitreya's presence is only to deliver the teaching. And Leadbeater was so perceptive. He said, when Krishnaji is doing other things, like when he's playing golf or bicycling, then or swimming, the Lord Maitreya will withdraw. He won't be there because this is a great mission. It's the first time such an experiment is being done on planet Earth. And I think still 30, 35 years after Krishnaji has passed away, I think we still don't fathom, we are not shocked by the gravity and the profound significance of what has happened in religious history of mankind. So now the only way to understand Krishnamurti's Atmasthana and how he feels is to go to Nisarg, who is one of the greatest of the self-realized masters in the last century. And he gave a sutra, which is called the Hole in the Paper Sutra. And he said, like, paper is both in the paper and yet not of the paper. It is both in the paper, that is the sense of self which we have, and for which we don't have any respect. We think it's a piddly little thing. We are not able to respect it. And people who have very few thoughts, they know that it is very sacred. But other people don't know that it is the essence of the essences. It is verily the divine itself. But Maharaj says, so is the supreme state at the very center of consciousness and yet beyond consciousness. Yet beyond consciousness for the whole of humanity. And for Krishnamurti, it has taken residence here at the whole of consciousness. That is the center stage of Krishnamurti's consciousness, where awareness has been snuffed out periphery, and Maitreya has occupied that. And that is the phenomenon, the Krishnamurti phenomenon. And we are going to go more deeply into that. But this is one of the two deepest and greatest slides which throw light on who is Krishnamurti and what is Krishnamurti. So Krishnamurti is the phenomenon of Lord Maitreya, who has come down to planet Earth in order to give a new teaching, which is an altogether different paradigm shift, the likes of which we have not seen in any religion so far. So now there's another thing we have to.
Excerpt taken from Krishnamurti's notebook. And this is Krishnamurti in his own words on the otherness. As one walked along the street of few palms, the otherness came like a wave that purified and strengthened. It was there like a perfume, a breath of immensity. There was no sentiment, the romance of illusion, or the brittleness of thought. It was there, clear, without any vague possibility, unhesitating, definite. It was there, a holy thing, and nothing could touch it. Nothing could break its finality. Of the closeness of the passing buses, the wet street, and the squealing brakes. It was aware of all these things, and beyond, the sea. But the brain had no relation to any of these things. It was completely empty, without any watching, observing out of this emptiness. The otherness was pressing in with sharp urgency. It was not a feeling, a sensation, as the man who was calling. It was not an emotion that changes, varies and continues, and thought could not touch it. It was there with the finality of death, which no reason could dissuade. As it had no roots and relation, it was indestructible.
So that is Krishnaji's beloved, the Otherness. And he writes a great deal about it in his notebook and in Krishnamurti's journal and in Krishnamurti to himself in a few places here and there. But the abundance of it is found in the notebook. And that is the fifth house, the Ishta Devata, that is the Lord is Jupiter. And you can see that the moon is aligned to Jupiter. And this astrologers know to be Vishnu Sthana. And the Otherness is Vaishnavi Shakti. Both Mercury, which is also the Devata, and Venus, Vishnu Devata, they are sensed by Krishnaji and sensed very acutely and very intensely. There is no self, and there is no noise, there is no thought. Therefore, the intensity of perception makes us sit up and makes us take note of what Krishnaji is describing. Hallmarks, how he's having the encounter with the Otherness every now and then. And then I find that the D12 divisional chart, which refers to past lives, is also very, very extraordinary in that it is strongly spiritual. Because first of all, it's deep and profound because it's a Scorpio ascendant. And then it's got Jupiter, the spiritual planet here. And the sun, the Atma Karaka, the Paramatma Karaka, is influenced by Jupiter. And Ketu, another separated planet, is influencing Saturn, which is the ascendant lord. And the ascendant lord here is exalted, again, Mars. And it comes under the influence of the 9th house lord of the Rasi chart and the 9th lord of the D12 chart. So that means it's out and out, soaked in religiosity, the past lives. And not only the past lives, the D12 also signifies what happens to him at night, because he's having very strong spiritual experiences like the Shiva Ganga experience. Then somebody comes and some sages come and drop a golden ball into the Brahmarandra, all sorts of things. Only in the night. It's happening in the night. And Krishnaji says one is woke almost as though one has to take notice of it. That's what Krishnaji is saying in many places. And so the whole of it is there in the mode of the divine at the time and place of birth. I mean to say that. And the 5th lord here, which is the teacher, this is a Taurus ascendant where the 5th lord is exalted. And that means the Paramatma Amsha is there. Then Mars is the Atma Karaka because it's Lord of the 4th house of Atmasthana. And you can see Saturn influencing the moon. Whenever any one cosmic life energy influences the ascendant, the sun, and the moon, then that whole chart, the divisional chart, is saturated with that essence of that planet which influences. And here it is Saturn, the planet which has got extraordinary seriousness, extraordinary detachment, and it talks only about suffering. So that's the whole essence of the teaching. So the whole essence of the teaching is here in coiled up form, divisional chart, the D5. And so all of it, they are part and parcel of the mode of the divine at the time and place of birth. And the moon is in Mula Nakshatra and ruled by Ketu. And the deity for that is Nirutti, the goddess of calamity. And she's got a lot of significations because she will destroy so many things. And because the sun, which is a death-giving planet, because it's Lord of the house of the mother died. And then he does not have a proper sense of self. Most of it is empty, it is vacuous and baffling, because you're dealing with the world where everybody has a self and you have a self. So how do you communicate this to the rest of humanity who have got that rock-like self lost? And so the goddess of calamity is responsible for that, because Ketu is influencing the sun in the 4th house. Sometimes has spoken about the bottom ground of creation. Professor David Bohm then is speaking about that empty. All of that is coming from the Ketuvian connection to the moon, because the moon is in a Ketu nakshatra called Mula, Mula means root, foundation, and deep power of perception and negation of the world. All of it is so central to Krishnaji's teaching. And then you can see all the Mula signification. They are so relevant for Krishnaji. And here I have shown you that Ketu signifies insight, self-doubt, self-abnegation, self-denial, spiritual inclination, inward turning, research, asceticism, liberation, staying aloof, otherworldly. So Krishnaji certainly had the Ketuvian hallmarks. He taught the Nivritti Marga, new dharma and new moksha. He stressed negation and self-knowing in his teachings. And he said, first you got to look at yourself, turn inward, and then you got to negate the world. And he had self-doubt because it's coming from Ketu. So he asked, who is Krishnamurti? He could not know who he is, because in order to know who he is, you need some amount of thought. And thought has gone missing because the Paramatma Kaka and Bhagavan Maitreya, who was there in the Atmasthana, he burnt out all that thought. So that knowing is not possible. Instead of that knowing, there is, which is another name for innocence. And Krishnamurti is constantly harping on this innocence. With knowledge, you are mystified, you are baffled, you are just staring, you are just wondering, and that's the life of the mystic. Sutras are very pertinent. Ketu in its positive side shows karmic accomplishment. It shows what we have accomplished in previous lives, already fully developed. These accomplishments may be benefic or malefic. They give mastery over what they relate to, but not necessarily spiritual development. They tend towards the latter, as that is the highest form of mastery. So Ketu is the significator of liberation. For this reason, Ketu is strongly propitiated by yogis and pandits. A person with the sun in conjunction or aspect with Ketu is going basically to have the same self as they had in their past life. Continuity of character, will, and purpose are indicated. The individual will not be a product of their environment, yet this will also place the individual at various doubt and other problems related to the world. So these are significations of Ketu which fit Krishnaji like a tea. So go to that baffling words of Krishnamurti. Those are the words of Krishnaji. And in the book Preparing to Leave, whose author is Scott Forbes, Krishnaji, Mary Zimbalist, and Scott Forbes are having a conversation in which Krishnaji is very, very reluctant, is extremely reluctant to part with knowledge which he has got about his incarnation. And why is he so reluctant? He's so reluctant because the last thing he wants is, he does not want you to worship him. He does not want of Lord Maitreya to become a cult. Therefore, Krishnaji is not parting every. Forbes is pressing him, where is symbolism? Then he says that Gopinath Kaviraj and the Benares Pandit's guru and Vishuddhananda or Siddhananda, the Pupal Jaikar calls that guru, Krishnaji calls him Siddhananda. They talk about in the Himalayas, close to Tibet, which is the home of these higher consciousness beings, Lord Kuthumi, Lord Maitreya, Lord Maurya, Lord Serapis, and all of that. And the mistake is, Krishnaji says, the theosophists made them physical, but whereas they are in higher planes of consciousness. And it is there in one of the manuscripts in century manuscript that such a phenomenon is going to take place, and that Bhagavan Maitreya, and he is going to come to planet Earth. And the word Christ also means Atma. Again, that's Surya Bhagavan, and that Surya Krishna Paramatma, that Surya Bhagavan, and that Surya Bhagavan has again blended with the individual called J. Krishnamurti to never heard of new teaching to the world. So that's something for us to contemplate for the rest of our life. I want to thank all of you for your uh, mm, and I want to thank the office bearers of the Theosophical Society in Varanasi and Pradeep Mahapatraji for organizing this online.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much, sir. Namaste. Namaste.
Sir, kindly close the PPT so that
Shall I minimize the PPT? You want me to?
minimize or yes, minimize will be better if it
Okay.
is possible.
I think closing will be easier for me, so I'll close
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry, I went like a Rajdhani Express. And
Yes.
it was not enough, and I wanted to do justice, and I wanted to create a shock.
Sir, kindly close. It is just minimize.
Okay. Stop sharing. Okay,
Yeah,
stop.
stop there.
Yeah,
Yes.
stop. And
Yes, sir.
by my side, that'll be better.
Now I request the TS member, as Dr. Sankar sir told me, first opportunity we given to TS member who has to ask any question. They can ask, they're welcome to ask question by making, by raising respective hand or unmuting their microphone. Yes.
Is it? Am I audible? Pradeep
Yes,
ji,
sir.
I'm talking to Ahmedabad.
Yes,
Uh,
you are audible.
I
Yes, you
listened
are
to
audible.
Yes, it's really a wonderful thing that he delineated with the particular effect of the planetary system. Now these, whatever the coincidences were there and whatever the message of Krishnamurti is there, we have to understand in the way that he only told us to observe everything. So we observe the effects of the planetary system. So is it different from what he suggested as the way of?
No, you got muted, sir. You got muted. Harshavardhanji, you got muted.
Harshavardhanji, kindly unmute yourself. Harshavardhanji, unmute.
You got to send a chat. Very good.
Please. So that I wanted to know about.
You see, Krishnaji has delivered the teaching, rather the teachings. There is no, from my point of view, if you ask me, point of view, Bhagavan Maitreya became J. Krishnamurti in the incarnation. So
Yes.
he is the world. And those, so Krishnaji has said in one place to Scott Forbes that the tears of the world, that is, whenever there is so much of sorrow in the world, then Krishnaji being very reluctant is because he does not want to give and for hijacking it and making it into a cult. So the teachings are the important thing. And as Krishnaji said, use the speaker as a mirror in which you see yourself and destroy that mirror. So work with the teachings are of paramount importance, and everyone has to, for his own liberation. And in Krishnamurti's view, somebody else cannot give you that liberation. You've got to be very sincere about it. That's my view.
Yes, that is really, it's just like the phenomena, not just now we understand in the present world. Because unless we go deeper into that knowledge of his own self-realization, which is connected highly with our mundane situation, so that self-knowledge is there. But can we apply our knowledge, that is the planetary effect on our daily life? So I think it is a science in the way that when we study, otherwise it becomes a superstitious way. So in that way, we have to understand.
No, not at all. This is an independent darshana. See, Mahari Parashara, that is Veda Vyasa's father. You know who Veda Vyasa is? You know very well. of Mahabharata fame, his father, his 2 volumes, Brihat Parashara Horshastra, are still alive among the community of Vedic astrologers worldwide after 5,000 years. This is an independent, and this is very specialized kind of darshana, rather esoteric. So it's not become populist. Just and tell them, ask them very worldly questions. When am I going to get married, and when am I going to die, and things like that. But it has got immense profundity, and it spans all the 4 Purusharthas, Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha. So here we are applying Jyotirvidya to fathom the mystery of the incarnation. That's what we're doing.
Really, it is wonderful. Wonderful. Really. Sometimes it becomes the part of our knowledge that we have to study well in that way. Okay, very so impressed about that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Shinde sir, would you like to ask anything?
Yes, yes. Am
Yes.
I audible, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You're
Very
audible.
nice. I am very happy that to listen you. I have already listened during convention.
Thank you, sir.
And you mentioned and your affection toward Krishnamurti, all that impressed us to the Theosophy members.
Thank you, sir.
Really, you have given a different view. We don't study with respect to astrology, etc. But your deep knowledge related Krishnamurti's events with those grahas and all that. Wonderfully you explained. And it is beyond our understanding also what you said. I really appreciate what you explained. Yes, it is many people, they ask, who is Krishnamurti? And we also answer, Krishnamurti, in one sentence we can say, a vacant mind in a specialized body. A vacant mind in a specialized body. And that can be explained or understood individually. And what is otherness also, people, they ask. And we answer, is it the sacred in manifestation? What is the otherness? Is it the sacred in manifestation?
See, the otherness is, I didn't have time to go more deeply, but the otherness is what the Hindu sages and Pandits, they've classified Adi Parashakti, Adi Shaktis, so many manifestations are there.
I understood, and you also explained it, that
Vaishnava
Atma is
Shakti.
there, that sacredness is there. It is in the manifestation of the Krishnamurti's body.
Yes.
And one more question people, they used to ask, what is the purpose of its manifestation, this sacredness? What is the purpose of this manifestation? Maybe like Avtara, is it mutation in human brain? Or is it awakening of intelligence? These 2 questions we may deal with.
Sir, we have to go back to Madame Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott, the original founding fathers of the Theosophical Society, founding mother and founding father. They were acutely aware that the world requires a new teaching. I am not a theosophist, but I have developed great affection for theosophy because Mr. Tim Boyd asked me to. And in the process, I've been going to the Adyar library, and
I know, sir. I know your interest, and I was librarian for last 16 years there.
I saw your name actually in the library. Your name is there.
And really, we appreciate your efforts. We don't go in this perspective, actually, astrology, but it is wonderful. You connected, related. Really, we appreciate your way of thinking. It is, I think it is, he brought mutation in the human brain.
Of course, in humanity, yes, he has seeded the inward revolution, as he called it, inward flowering through self-knowing. It's seeded worldwide. Not think that it is visible it is churning in the human hearts all the world over. I met many people who have been deeply set on a completely new inner pilgrimage because of the world teacher in different countries. And so that revolution is a silent revolution. And once Krishnamurti was talking to Scott Forbes, and he said, "Sir, who knows how long this will take? It may take 200 years for this revolution to bear fruit." And he said, "I feel that it will bear fruit only in America or in India, because America is a very open society and India is too deeply religious. So because of that, they may open their hearts to this teaching." But he did not say such a thing about UK or Europe, because they are more conservative, I think. The continent and UK, they're very much more conservative, but America is open to everything. And India has got a very strong religious inclination, therefore it can also open up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Shankara Bhagavatpada, your name itself says on Shiva and finally Bhagavatpada. So really you have connected Krishnamurti. Really, I appreciate your way of explanation. And this gives us more and more faith in Krishnamurti's teaching. Because Krishnamurti can be understood still 100 years. That is what it is. He himself said. You cannot understand what he has said. But you have made our intellectual really appreciable. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Namaste.
Thank you.
Now, any question from the members of Theosophical Society, or we'll go to the other who are not TS members but have joined, many joined in our. Now, anyone like to ask questions from the
Which
members
book?
of the Amanas Yoga?
Which book can we read to know more about Krishnamurti?
Krishnaji's writings are inexhaustible, and the archives are huge, a large number of his own works. And I would say that if you're very serious and you want to, you see, when I got this realization, I told one of my friends that I have no goal in life except to wash Krishnaji's clothes and polish his shoes. I have no other idea. I did not even have the desire to go and meet Krishna. The fact that my mother was translations of Krishnaji. She has done 50 years ago, but I had no desire because I'm already completely fulfilled. And I've written a personal letter to Krishnamurti maybe 45 years ago, communicating my thing, and Krishnaji replied also. And but I was not able to work with the Krishnamurti Foundation in India because I'm in freedom and I can't employ anywhere, not possible. The books are Go to Freedom First and Last, where Aldous Huxley has written a foreword. Those are two seminal works.
Thank you, sir.
Freedom from Known, sir, and First and Last Freedom. These two
First
books.
and Last Freedom. Yes. Aldous Huxley's foreword.
Yes.
Sir, we want your pamphlet describing this astrological aspect and Krishnamurti's life.
You can keep my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
This whole
Yes, I will give him.
No,
This is,
you can publish it, and it is really essential nowadays. Nobody will study so deeply and relate the Krishnamurti's life with these astrological planets, etc. And you have done very nice work. Why not we can publish it as only a pamphlet, a small booklet? That will be good, I think.
No, I'm writing a book, sir. The name of the book is water can never know what water is.
Yes.
Krishnaji's words, I'm writing that book. And in that book, I am actually deciphering and fathoming the mystery of the incarnation. That's my endeavor.
Okay, sir. Any member from AMANASKA Yoga Foundation? Any query, any question they can ask? There are many joined in Indian section online program.
I actually told them
Yes,
don't
sir.
disturb Mahapatra ji. If you have any questions, you can post in our WhatsApp groups. I'll answer there. I told them, so nobody's asking.
Sir, we will close now.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Now
All the
I
office
request
bearers.
Mithalini ji to have the closing prayers.
Namaste to all. Asato ma satgamaya tamasu ma jyotirgamaya mrityurmang amrutangamaya sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramaya sarve bhadrani pashyantu na kaschit dukha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Sir, on behalf of the Indian section, I pay my highest gratitude for you giving this such a beautiful speech, connecting astrology part as well as with the Krishnamurti teachings. Thank you, sir.
Namaste,
Again,
sir.
we will meet on 10th.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Namaste. Pranam to everybody. Pranam.